Love it.
So apparently, Hybe is fucked. That's been the
We're
changing sentiment.
about a 7-day cycle.
Yes.
Between thinking it's the business of the future to realizing they're manufacturing stars in a production line.
Yeah. And apparently their profits year over year have plunged 99%.
99.
I don't know if that has to do with like the fucking plethora of acquisitions, but I think just bottom lines are definitely hurting. They're not doing what they anticipated that they were doing. Yeah. And now they're trying to distance themselves from this internal document leak that happened, which is just a major black eye.
I haven't looked into it yet, but I think they owned it today. I think they issued an apology to the artist, but I didn't dive deep enough into it to speak on it. But my understanding is they've actually just said, our bad.
Well, it's difficult to not distance yourself from it when the publication that put the article out is owned by you. So it was an actual Hybe-owned publication that put out that report, and to make people familiar with it.
Fired.
Yeah, the internal document basically talked about how their artists, most of whom they discuss who are under the age of 18, which right away is a major no-no. They basically talk about how they're not quote unquote aesthetically pleasing in the right way that the public would endear them, and that they basically all need plastic surgery and guidelines on how to do that. And it was an 18,000 page internal document and summary of the K-pop industry and a few other things, which is just oof.
I just don't know how you write an 18,000 page document
without
and not
AI.
expect like a couple of slides to find their way out into the world. You know, I also think that I think what I kind of find frustrating about this scenario is, you know, we have this perception in the music industry that we manufacture stars.
Yeah.
K-pop is the most recent example of that.
Yeah.
Like, most people know that if you wanted to be a K-pop star back in the day, you had to get some work done.
Yeah, for sure.
You went through a production line.
Yeah, from the time you were like 5 years old.
100%. And you were selected and then blown up.
Yeah.
America doesn't do that anymore.
No.
That's not the morals and values that we would like to run under.
No.
Do we still do it?
Yeah.
And then so the success of this sort of K-pop led manufacturing line moving over into America is kind of like, and then this happening, like, damn, that's
you think it was corporate like espionage? Some type of sabotage?
I think there's a lot of that going on right now, but I don't know if this was. I think this was a confidence error. I think this is what happens when people get too deep in the weeds and forget about the cultural standing that they hold. Yeah. And I think they just went too deep. And they got lost in the document. They got lost in the evidence. They got lost in all of what they said may be true.
Yeah.
You don't say it.
Yeah. 100%. Somewhere between pages 9 and 12,000, they lost their footing.
And then you've also got the other side of it, which is like, you do have examples of artists that break that trend and become some of the biggest in the world. Like, you've got the Lizzos, you've got Adele, you've got the document's
talent
wrong.
reigns supreme, and Hollywood is known for like their maintenance and upkeep, of course. Like the Botoxes, like we know the transformative stances of like, you know, the Kardashian clan, you know, so to say, not in any degrading way, right? Like, more empowerment to you if you want to own it and you want to refine yourself.
But you got to decide to do it.
Yeah, it's just like wealthy puberty compared to like regular person puberty. You know what I mean? It's like you have the glow up of the century, and like, more power to you. But what they do is they then turn that into like monetizable aspects with like the brands, the lip kits, all that shit. More power to them. Hollywood is definitely known for its maintenance, but there's never been like Manchurian Candidate approaches of like, you know, Nicolas Cage, Travolta, like swap faces, like make you an entirely different person, like on some face-off shit. You know what I mean? So I think that's the difference in cultural approach and acceptance. And I think it's also a suppression of information in those cultures that allows that to even exist, to be honest with you, in the sense of, you know, like that side of the world is known for a little bit more of like a tyrant approach in what they do. Yeah. And it's so streamlined and controlled in the manner of what's delivered to them that they're like almost bred to idolize these figures. So it's like that unspoken taboo of sorts that exists around it. So the fact that it's come to light right now, The reason why I lean into the aspect of thinking it has to be some type of sabotage of sorts is because how do you let that slip out of your hands from a publication that you own? Like, that's where it gets tricky, because we have data, or whatever the hell the name of the company was that actually published the report, is a Hybe-owned publication. So it's like not one person, the whole fucking department is getting fired, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think that I sometimes think like there's two ways of looking at things. One is like a deep-seated conspiracy. The other one is just plain stupidity.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes the easiest example, there's like a theory or law around it or something, but the easiest example for almost anything is stupidity.
Yeah.
And I think this may just be down to that. Someone wrote the document, released the document, and a team reviewed it, released it, and then someone's gone, are they kidding?
Yeah.
Like, and this is we think the department, that the conspiracy would be that it's corporate espionage. The reality of it may just be an internal department of 5 people that did a research document that shouldn't have been done.
Yeah.
And as a result, it gets released.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Stupidity got it there, but I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, I mean, it's untethered power. So when they've had untethered, unchecked power for the last half decade plus, and you're the big dog in the yard, like sometimes you forget really how to watch your back in those situations. And it was definitely just just what surprises me is at these levels, and I think it's what reminds everybody that the world is far more of a leveled playing field than you actually realize, is we're all human. Yeah. We're all prone for error and mistake. And when the big dogs in the yard actually slip up, it's like when you're just like, how the fuck could you ever even do something so naive and on such a rookie scale, you know? Like, and I guess hopefully lesson learned, we'll see how this continues to impact them. But the drop of revenue on the other side of stuff, a 99%.
And there's separate issues, because I saw the revenue drop before I saw the
So did I.
Yeah.
So did I. And ironically, after we published last week's episode, that news article went live like 48 hours after we talked about what a dominant corporation Hybe has become. And then a 99% year over year, like, profit decrease is pretty serious, bro.
I haven't looked into I should actually read the actual breakdown to figure out. Do you know if it's profit or revenue?
I believe it was profit.
I think if it's profit, I could justify that away.
Revenue would be kind of hard to anticipate it being 99% of revenue. That just like theoretically wouldn't make any sense.
That's what I meant. And the profit side, I could make a justification, because if you spend a lot,
you're not going to make it.
You're not going to make it. So maybe they've just taken a 2 or 3 year hit on current revenues, and they'll drop anywhere from 80 to 100% year on year.
Yeah.
But they know that when they stop spending, they're up.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
You know?
And we do know that they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars right now.
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's catalog.
Yeah.
So when you're spending that amount up front, you know it's going to come on the back end. And when you stop spending, you just receive.
Yeah.
So the profits they may receive in 5 years from now for the next 30 years are ungodly.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to acquire catalog anymore. They've already done it. So like I think doing a deeper run into that would make a lot more sense, because then we can figure out if it's actually like a revenue issue or not.
Yeah.
But like, it is wild.
Yeah, man.
It is wild.
The state of the industry as a whole is just in like one of the most interesting transitional phases I think ever in the history of the music game.
It's wild. Like two things that I think feed each other in different ways that hit me last week was you got Atlantic offloading high volumes of stuff.
Yeah, like a decent percentage.
It's like significant. Yeah. Then you've got Tidal that drops half of its stuff. So that's a DSP.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got a DSP, which is an alternative to the biggest players, the Apples and the Spotifys. They can't survive. So now they've dropped away. A half reduction in staff basically means I'm slowly leaving.
Yeah.
Like I'm liquidating this thing.
Yeah.
So then you've got that issue. Then you have the other side of it with the Atlantic dropping. And from what I can understand about the Atlantic situation, and there hasn't really been a public statement around it just yet, but it's significant.
Yeah.
So, and one of the things that's kind of surprising about that right now is the largest artist in the world is signed with Atlantic.
Bruno Mars?
Bruno Mars just clipped #1
on Spotify. Wow.
So you've got someone like him, and then other artists that we've been talking to lately that are around that team, that camp.
Yeah.
Like, their teams aren't there anymore.
No.
So you're looking at, if I'm them, I'm like, what do I get?
Yeah.
You just fired everyone.
Yeah.
Like, I signed with you because of team, because of resource, because of all these reasons, and now you fired everyone, and now you're just going to give me a freelancer?
Wow.
You know, so like...
What's Bruno Mars at monthly now?
130.3.
Jesus Christ.
When I checked it yesterday.
So the weekend's reign as #1 is over.
Yeah.
Wow. That's actually pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And to clear it by a 10 mil benchmark.
And not to mention, like, Bruno Mars has done it, I feel like, sneaky.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I didn't see that coming.
No. He just released that record a couple months ago with Lady Gaga, which I know has performed incredibly well.
It's like 1 billion streams almost.
Yeah, in 2 months.
In a couple of months. It's
which is insane.
100%. But I feel like it's been sneaky. Like, I don't think I've seen it or felt it that intensely lately. No. So, like, that's been taking place. So you've got this, like, shifting of the landscape, staff moving around. And I think similarly to what's happening with those guys, with Universal, with Hybe, they are spending a lot of money right now.
Yeah.
But eventually, they'll probably go through the same cycle that Atlanta's going through.
Yeah.
Stop spending, start taking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now Atlantic's gone and started doing that and going, you know what, let's just gut half of the team. Don't need them. We'll just buy people when we need them and pocket the rest and then increase profit margins.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be the cycle all major labels are going through right now. Mm-hmm. So if you are...
And distributors.
And distributors,
we were talking about last week how DistroKid teed off the half 100%. Of their staff, or their whole department.
100%.
You're seeing it happening all over the place.
And then you have the one layer deeper that I've been thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
So Believe...
This is where we get spicy.
Believe and TuneCore have just been sued for a copyright claim.
Okay.
Of $500 million...
Ouch.
By UMG.
Ouch.
So Universal has gone after them.
Okay.
If there is even a quarter of a chance that goes through, Believe will get sued by Warner.
Okay.
Believe will get sued by Sony.
Oh, shit.
Believe is now no longer a distribution.
No,
and
they're out of business.
It's going to have its foot on the neck, and it's just going to get acquired. That catalogs in the lawsuit will just get acquired.
Yeah.
Cheapest catalog acquisition
in history.
Yeah,
so they got sued for copyright infringement of what?
So the copyright infringement is a little bit
like for AI use?
AI use, but then also just recreation of like YouTube-based assets, and like it's a little bit vague right now, but I think it'll start to come to light. TuneCore and Believe have both come out and said, this is not, we're fighting this.
Holy shit.
As you should say.
Wow.
But if you look at what they've done, it's similar to what DistroKid's done. It's similar to what other players have done. The difference is Believe has backers that have really deep pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you've got this like situation where these major labels are liquidating on their staff, dropping their staff, increasing their cash flow, and then now going out and acquiring catalogs.
Mm-hmm.
We spoke last week about how there's a potential chance the DistroKid might get sold.
Mm-hmm.
Now I look at that and I go, the smartest play would be to go after DistroKid because they had the most catalog.
Yeah.
But only reason why you wouldn't do that is if they're not playing ball on the sale, which maybe is what happened with Believe.
Mm-hmm.
So Universal goes, sell to me or I fuck you anyway.
Wow. Mob mentality, man.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, like, again, I'm just speculating.
Yeah, if you can't buy the show dog, you starve it, you know?
And they've just come in and said, cool, let's run it. And then now now it's going to be interesting to see what happens next, because this particular type of copyright infringement has been like a gray area for a while. No one's really wanted to play in this space. So this is going to be the first time it gets like litigated.
Yeah.
So on this scale.
Yeah. I mean, and it's scary to go against the big three because they literally have unlimited funds. So 100%. Like they will ultimately
technically right now it's just the big one.
Yes.
But like I have a feeling that if they start saying, this is a quick way to make 250, 500 million, let's just run it.
Yeah.
Jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Yeah.
So you got that happening. And then you've got this DistroKid situation sitting in the wings. And there's not a lot of other available catalogs to take up now.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually you're going to have this liquidation of staff leaving distributors and major labels.
Mm-hmm.
And then which will free up cash flow to acquire whatever's left of the distro players that are independent.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're all going to get plugged in underneath the major labels.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's going to be a new crop of independent distributors that get built,
yes,
that
sir.
then get acquired, that then get funneled through the system.
Yeah.
And the whole industry is going to be banks and marketers.
Yeah.
That is it.
All funneled back to major corporations.
All funneled back to major corporations.
Independence dies.
And it's going to be reskinned, relabeled, reapplied.
Of course.
Like different forms of lipstick on different pigs.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the way the industry moves.
Yeah.
Now, I say all of this to open everybody up to an opportunity.
Yeah.
If everybody's out here focusing on trimming margins and cutting services, if you want to fucking win over service, it's all anyone wants.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I manage an artist. That artist is right now looking for distribution.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy good numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to find someone that is not just throwing money at that situation, but throwing resource at it is actually the hardest thing.
Yeah, I'm
so
sure.
if you have time and not money, you can make money in this industry.
Absolutely.
Because everybody else has money and not time.
Absolutely.
So, like, if you're an independent artist, if you're a management, if you're a small indie label, get in the weeds.
Mm-hmm.
Get your hands dirty, and I am confident that you win in this landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so many angles and routes that artists can piece together to make something tangible for themselves. Like on the other side of the fence, I'm managing an artist right now as well, right? We just finished up his deal and his recording situation. And it's one of those things where if certain variables were like a little bit this way or that way, it literally could have been the most perfect scenario. But I think of it in the sense of like, okay, most artists want that advance. They think that the advance is going to tee them up. Of course, rightfully so. They've been working at it for years on end. Some people, they did put in the work like in a short-term sense, and they hit a lick, they come up. They want to monetize on their opportunity, which I totally respect. But you say something all the time that is of immense value, that not all dollars are created equally, you know? And when an artist puts money into their pocket, oftentimes most artists don't understand what a recoupment basis is. Like they don't really get the language that goes into those contracts, you know? So the more money that they ask for, they ultimately don't realize that that's just longer until they actually start to earn anything off their music and IP, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes the terms of that agreement might be 3-4 years, but it really goes until it's recouped. So you could be in that situation for 8, 9, 10 years based on if you fall off of a cliff.
Thinking you're in a 2-year deal.
Exactly. And like when you're living in a place like Los Angeles or a metropolitan area and you sign a $300,000 deal and it's supposed to be a 3-year term, and you ultimately realize that in theory you have $100,000 per year that's coming your way in terms of what you actually budget that out as, shit gets serious, right?
Yeah.
And I always think about it in the sense of when you say that not all dollars are created equal, if artists recognized what it meant to secure like forward-facing opportunity off of like masters that they own or what they can recruit for themselves in terms of marketing dollars, like they don't recognize the prowess of how things would change, man. Like if certain independent artists really looked into the opportunity, like if your numbers are growing, if you're on the uptick and you own your masters and you have the opportunity to work out some type of licensing for a fee that is able to put it into a marketing situation for you, then you're fucking out of here. But just make sure that you go with a proven entity or people that can actually put those facts in front of your face, right? And it'll create a completely different horizon for these artists. Then you go into tandem with who can actually scale the shit out of your music, right? And we know this better than anyone. And it's one of those things where then you come out of that situation, you then have retention of your masters after that period. Your value has fucking skyrocketed. You 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, 20x to your monthly listeners at that point. And then you're in a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
You're in a whole new ball game. And the other side of it is that don't be afraid to take those risks, because I think the thing that you and I have learned better than anyone managing the acts that we do is a lot of the time it feels great to conform to what's working. And I get that for the interim and for the now, right? Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it type mentality. But shit changes. Always. You're not going to be booming forever. And the key for artists to understand is that if you are looking for that scale up and that next level up opportunity, don't wait till your numbers start to dwindle. Sell the stock when the price is at its peak and its all-time high.
Yeah.
Like, follow what sound investment principle and strategy is for your own career arc. Like, yes, if you're booming right now, and they see the uptrend for where your metrics are going to be in 3-4 months, and you have a deal that's put in front of you that makes you open your eyes a little bit because you're actually surprised at the amount of dollar that they put in front of you, more oftentimes than not, it's probably the right time to do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And a lot of these artists, just talking about the other side of the fence, they get too comfortable with the formula and they're too afraid to evolve in some ways. Like, they're like, okay, like if we're just doing it in this basis, then like, I don't want to switch up the socials. I don't want to switch up this. I don't want to do that. And we know people very well, artists that we've worked with, that we're familiar with, who they have 50 to 60% month over month drop-offs, right? So they're in the tens of millions of monthly listeners. 30 days go by, and that literally has halved. So that deal that was proposed to you a month ago has now quartered in value, right? And it's a fucking crazy game, man.
And I think both sides should be playing the game. Mm-hmm. So the label's job is to hedge its bet. So when you're at the 20 million monthlies, the 12 million monthlies, they're like, let's assume this halves.
Yeah.
So let's go in between the half.
Yeah.
And then as the artist, your job should be like, let's assume it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But let's also accept the half of the half.
Yeah.
You know, like, and then let's both play the game and hedge our bet and end up in a better spot. And I think the not all dollars are created equal is live by that, because I think especially in the music industry, I could be offered a $20 million deal for an artist, and I will turn that down if it is on the wrong terms. It's not the dollar; it's how you get it.
Exactly.
It's what you have to do.
Exactly.
It's the amount of percentage. It's the master's ownership, no master's ownership. It's the term length. It's the post-recoupment funds. It's the pre-recoupment. It's the advance. It's the marketing expense. Yeah. It's the who's doing the marketing. It's the discount on the marketing. It's all of these factors combined. Yeah. And it's the person.
Yeah.
Like, do I want to work with this dickhead?
Yeah, for sure, bro. More than anything, relationships are more important than anything.
Everything.
Remember, we had a meeting very recently with a very prominent artist who's done billions of streams. And we were sitting down with that artist. He's like, I used to look at my expense sheet and be like, who the fuck authorized this? Who spent this? Who did this? Who did that? How the fuck did you guys spend $1 million in marketing?
And then good luck audit. And everyone's like, we'll audit them. This contract you signed probably limited how many times you're able to do that and how much time needs to float between. Yes. So by the time you announce the audit, they just recorrect the figures to then inject into the future forecastings. And then you're stuck.
Yeah, of course, which we know again from personal experience.
And then you leave, and then the term length begins once you walk out the door. So that's 15 years from then, not from when you first joined them. Yeah. But the contract that you signed, you may believe that maybe it's read that way, maybe it's not.
No,
like it's just a game that
they're very good at what they do.
These labels have lifetimes.
Yeah, they've been in it for fucking a century plus, man. Like they know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah,
you know, they have bulletproof fucking systems. They have bulletproof counters to counters. They're the best fucking Uno card players in the world. You know what I mean?
And that's why, like, I've just become a big believer in.
That's pretty big.
Pretty big.
Yeah.
Big. I just think that there are so many other ways to get money.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you can find ways of crafting a team around you that can deploy that capital effectively, it's the best path.
100%.
It's team plus a little bit of cash.
100%.
Under the right terms. Yeah. You know, because I can't keep watching And I look at most of the deals that I do now for artists are only done with people that I know very well.
Yeah.
And they know that by giving me that money, they get more.
Yeah, of course, because they know how you're going to spend it.
Because they know how I'm going to spend it.
Yeah.
They know who I'm going to spend it with.
Of course.
It's just, really, it's just one big circle jerk between us all. Like, everybody knows what everybody does. And if you're new to the circle, good luck.
Yeah.
Like, work hard to get inside it.
100%.
Because you're the deal. I can go to the same person as someone else and I will get a better deal.
Yeah.
And then in someone else's circle, I get a shit deal.
Yeah.
But it's just, you just got to understand that they're giving up their money too.
Yeah, of course.
Like, it's still cash out the door. It's
course,
still
man.
money that could go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And as much as it's tough for artists to understand, you're a stock.
Yeah, of course.
And be a good one.
Yeah.
And it'll work in your favor.
Yeah, of course, man. And speaking on the topic of cash, how about this Trump pump, man?
Look, I am fascinated by the state of the world right now.
Yeah, man. We're in an interesting time. They were screaming at the thing. This is why I say to everyone, educate yourself financially and do not read headlines when you are making your fucking investment decisions, because most people are telling you to buy Bitcoin right now and telling you to fade it when it's at 3K, 13K, 30K, right? Like, investor psychology is so interesting to me because most of my close circle and people are aware that I'm a heavy crypto advocate. They know I've been in a space for a very long time. And the amount of messages that I've gotten over the last 7 days in regards to that is absolutely batshit crazy. Okay. Of people asking me when and how to buy and this and that. And like, I'm not going to be the guy, just putting this out there, that is going to advise you to go and buy Bitcoin at 90K. Like, that just is not the principle of how we move. And the state of things is, the reason why I tell people to educate themselves, if you look back on the beginning of the year forecasts, okay, for what the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones was going to hit, like the estimates were 4,000 at like the high end. They were like 4,100 maybe. It broke $6,000 a few short days ago, okay? So like the percentage basis and points of how off they are in these, and what people don't understand, that the psychological war tactic that they use on the consumers to get you to fucking be afraid, drive the price of that down. So then these hedge funds come in and just buy up the fuck out of every one of these things.
And then put the headline online.
And then put it online that it's the bull market, get all the retail investors to step off the couch and be like, holy shit, I'm missing out. I got to buy.
By retail investors, Seeno means you.
Exactly. Which, unfortunately, I mean that with all the love in the world. You know,
no, it's true. I think it's just understanding that, like, you might have a shitload of money in your bank account, but you are still a retail investor that's being manipulated through this process.
Of course. And it's like the major bigwigs, they control the news cycles. Then they know how to get you off your fucking couch. Like, you could read the same sentiment.
Because they own the media outlet that got you off the couch.
Exactly. Yeah. So you could read the same media sentiment that's published month over month. And look at how they talk at Bitcoin at 69,000 1 month comparative to the month after, just because in the direction that the upcycle is moving, right? And we see this massive correlation between the markets reacting heavily around the Trump win and the election that just occurred, right? Which a lot of people think was a domination. In a lot of ways, electoral vote-wise, it was, okay, in the sense that he won by a fair amount. But Wisconsin, Michigan, he won by mere percentage points, less than a percentage point in some places, right? But I think it's just a testament to the fact that just most people are tired of the system, right? And like, you can call it what it is in regards to political sphere and what's just and what isn't and who's inheriting, well, whose economy and yada, yada, yada. That's for another day and another topic, and that's based off of your personal beliefs and whatever insights you receive from that, right? But the reality of the fact is that markets react to these things in a heavy, heavy way, right? And we see this correlation between Trump now being elected, the markets booming, Goldman Sachs now changing their forecast for what they believe the interest rates are going to be by the end of next year. They think by early 2026, the Fed is going to cut the interest rate in the States to 3.25, 3.5%. which is a dramatic
Anyone
come down
wants to
from
buy a
lower.
house, buy it now.
Yes.
Do not wait.
No, because that's also the other key to understand is when people think that when the interest rate goes down, that means their prices are going to remain, but that does not exist. The minute the interest rates gets cut, the fucking price of these houses skyrockets. 100%. So we were dealing with a realtor, a close friend of ours the other day, browsing around houses doing what it was, and he had mentioned that his phone was dormant from July. He made a big sale in July on a home. He did not receive a single fucking phone call for months on end. He said literally the morning after the election, he said I was on the phone for 48 hours straight. Like legitimately 2 days straight. I couldn't get off the fucking phone. People wanting to buy, people wanting to do this. And we saw what happened. Like now the interest in home and purchases are starting to trend back up. And it's an interesting thing for what's occurring. And I know that Trump just now appointed Elon and Vivek, right?
And Vivek, yeah.
To the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge department, right? And Elon tweeted this morning, actually, how his plan is to list every action that they take in this department publicly on Twitter. So they're going to list everything that they do is going to be listed on a step-by-step basis. So there could be an open forum so that people can vote on it, can do this. Yeah. And you really see, like, listen, man, they're playing 5D chess, these guys. They're legitimately playing 5D chess. This is beyond the realm of average person comprehension. Like, Elon, most sound investment of all time, put $140 million up on the Republican Party, and Donald Trump made fucking $45 billion in 3 days after the guy gets elected. And I know that's not how people are going to break it down, but you have to follow the money. And him having the foresight, right, to go and secure a platform like X prior to the election, or Twitter, make it X prior to the election, control it in the manner that he has and keep it open-ended in the manner that he has. Use it to rebuttal so many mainstream media publications that he would post right away, knowing the power and pull that he has on his own accord. Being able to get anything trending on the app, anything that Elon tweets that's of significance. Like he pushed a fucking crypto coin 2 weeks ago to a 2 billion market cap from nothing about a Peanut the squirrel. Okay, it's literally called Peanut, all right? It was a squirrel that was fucking taken. They put it to sleep in New York. He rallied around it, retweeted a couple things, and it went to a $2 billion market cap, okay? Let's not talk about that miss there because I was literally sick to my stomach on that one, but it's not even fucking funny. It's like I got the inside call on that one too. It was just terrible. But
could have gone the other way.
It's just really interesting the state of things where it's at right now. And we also read the statistics in regards to the voter sway. So basically, besides the older population of voters, everybody 65 and up, every voting demographic under that number all swayed towards Republican. There was a greater percentage movement towards the Republican side of things than there was for the Democratic side of things. Yeah. And I think that's a really interesting measure of where people's psyche is at.
I agree. There's like 15 things here, but I'll start with one. I think what I think a lot of people underestimated was, as someone that's considering immigrating to this country, I think that there was a underlying disdain for legal immigration amongst immigrants. And I think immigrants underestimated. I think Democratic Party underestimated that. Yeah. And I think it was like this unspoken, let's like edge around it. And I think there's that. And I also think like consumer sentiment and consumer confidence is a very big metric. Where the state of the economy is at can be different to consumer confidence. And people will be doing what they're doing right now. Nothing's changed in the economy. It's been days. He's not even in. Circumstances are exactly the same. All that changed was consumer confidence. That is what I think this whole thing came down to. Yeah. People were so frustrated with what was happening in their life and in their bank accounts that they didn't care what happened. Yeah. They just felt like they needed a change.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is hard to argue against.
Yeah. Yeah.
your political beliefs, whatever your standing is on certain topics of the election, I think quickly become redundant when you're just trying to put food on a table.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of the challenge, is this sort of state of the economy and state of, not even state of the economy, perceived state of the economy.
Yeah.
And whether that was Trump doing what he does best, which is honestly just like harping on a point.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Relentless consistency.
Yeah.
You know, to a fault.
He had expansion on certain topics, and Kamala's downfall, a lot of people think, was in the last couple of weeks when she had that interview on The View with the group of women, of course, the hosts, and they asked her, what makes you different from Biden over the last 4 years? And she said, well, I can't really think of anything. And they asked her, okay, so what will you do different? And she's like, well, you know, we're two different people technically, but like, brother, that's not what you say to a society that is at their fucking neck with debt and this and that. Like, just feed them a little hope.
100%. And I think you've got, I think the best breakdown I've seen from it was Scott Galloway did a really, really good synopsis and rundown. A pretty significant donor to the Democratic Party. He's very, very much leaning left. And he shredded it. He just said, like, now we finished. Let me speak. Yeah. And he just unloaded on what he felt went wrong. And he just said, we are out of touch. This has to change.
100%.
We will lose time and time again if this is the play.
100%.
And I think to fast forward to today and moving forward the next 4 years, I think one of the things that we pride ourselves on this podcast and we pride ourselves on as people is trying to take the positive side of things. We are in a situation right now where you have two choices. You can cry about it or you can figure out what it means for you. And right now we're sitting in a situation where I think we've just got to cross our fingers and hope that someone that has the most amount of power, I think, ever.
Unprecedented power. House and Senate.
And arguably Supreme Court. Like, no one's had that full run. Let's just hope that somebody that comes in that's not a career politician was playing a character and now is willing to get to fucking work. And bust it down. You know,
we'll see.
To bring in someone like Vivek, who a lot of people have questionable beliefs of him, but he's capable economically. You know, everyone's criticism of Elon Musk, no one can say the dude's not an operator.
So another internal memo that came out that I thought was interesting was from a former member of Obama's cabinet who said that the White House during this Biden administration had done their own internal polling. And essentially the reason why Biden was forced to back out, and they drove that sentiment so strongly, was because their internal polling reports showed that Trump could have gotten up to 400 electoral votes. Like, it could have been a fucking slam dunk. One of the biggest landslides literally in history of elections, might have actually been the biggest. And supposedly he also reiterated the fact that they knew that Kamala didn't have a shot. So it should make you aware of what these polling outputs actually mean and what it really is, right? But I think where they made that critical mistake, and this will be the only time I actually state my opinion on it publicly, is Biden should have never announced that he was running for re-election. He should have been a one-term president. He should have did what he did. I think that would have left a better legacy, because it wasn't the debates that made people lose hope in the fact if this guy still had cognitive dissonance and was still able to function. It was one of those things where he wasn't capable anymore. He's old. He doesn't have it. He doesn't look like a comparable leader, right? And I think people lost faith in that. So closing the primary situation, just immediately announcing Kamala's run for presidency when she had been not the most present vice president for 4 years, and the public wasn't even aware of who she was or what she was doing or whatever. One of the most low-kept vice presidents in that regard in terms of public appearance, right? I think that's where they made their critical mistake, in my personal opinion, is that Biden should have just announced himself as a one-term president. They should have found someone who was a formidable opponent.
At the beginning.
Yeah. And then announced that he was going to go for re-election at the end in his last year.
Exactly. When he said at the beginning, he said, I will be a one-term president.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and the irony of Trump now being a year older than when Biden was even elected 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, it's just an interesting place for us to be, you know?
I agree. I just think that I think sometimes like on the political side of things, I don't live here. I don't really have a say. I just watch from the outside, and from a pure branding and marketing standpoint, this was a fumble.
Massive.
More so than it was a Trump win.
Yeah.
Like, you can't make that many clinical errors and expect to get a W.
Yeah.
Like, there's a point where you've just got to put your hand up and go, this is my bad.
Yeah.
Like we fumbled this.
Yeah.
And the reason why I also say that is, like, if you really care about the country and you really think this guy's as evil as you say he is, do better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, don't just concede the loss and just go, instead of losing by a lot, let's lose by a little.
Yeah.
Ensure he doesn't get in.
Yeah.
Single objective.
Yeah, they fumbled it, man.
And I think that's, from the outside looking in, that's what I saw. I saw from just a pure, let's say they're two brands.
Yeah.
And I'm deciding which one, they both cost the same.
Yeah.
I'm deciding which product I want to buy.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard to buy the product that is doing the worst sales pitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
of all time.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's kind of what it came down to for me, was just watching it from the outside looking in from Germany. I was like, damn, this is like mishap after mishap after mishap, PR miss, like, and just crossing fingers and hoping that people have the same morals as you.
Yeah.
People will compromise their morals for their family.
100%.
And that's what the biggest lesson I think everyone should take away from this is, like, people will compromise their morals for their family. And that's
absolutely
one of the biggest takeaways.
Yeah.
It's like, so to wrap off this episode, I think maybe we should do this every episode.
Yes.
Just close on like a weekly thought.
I love that.
Because this week, I have been around more wealth than I think I can comprehend.
Welcome to LA.
This place is insane.
Yes, it is.
And have had the luxury and pleasure of being around some pretty powerful minds that I have learnt a lot from. And my head's been spinning with simplicity. That's been the biggest lesson.
Yeah.
And I think my lesson for this week was, when I was younger, and I think a lot of people feel this when they have aspirations and goals for themselves and they're trying to become what they want to become. They look upwards at people that are where they want to be.
Yeah.
And they ask them, or they ask themselves what they have that I don't. And I think this week I've actually learned that it's the opposite. It's that I have or had something that they don't. And that's fucks to give. They are selfish, driving forces to their desired outcome. They don't have off switches. They don't have other goals. They don't care what other people think. So it's actually more what they don't have that you are still holding on to. That is the problem. And that's been my realization for this week.
Yes.
Has been this acknowledgement and understanding that the people that have what you want have given up more than you're willing to.
Yeah.
It's not something they have. They don't have like an extra fucking piece of their brain that you're not accessing. They don't have like a supplement stack that you don't have. It's none of that. It's just that they care less about what people think of them, and they are willing to sacrifice more than you are. You're not willing to sacrifice your 2 hours playing PlayStation. You're not willing to sacrifice those things. They didn't care. They had bigger goals than you.
Absolutely.
And that's why they won.
I think that's perfectly said. I could not even reiterate that any better than you did. I think that is wholeheartedly approach. It's horse blinders. They are willing to fucking do the dirty work that a lot of other people aren't going to do. And you and I are well aware of what it takes to build multi-million-dollar entities. And that shit is not fucking easy, bro. It takes a relentless amount of grind. Like, even while you're here on this trip, like, you're up at fucking 2 a.m. We're discussing things. We're doing things, working through problems, finding solution after solution after solution. And every time you hit a new benchmark of progress, you're introduced to 100 new set of problems. And if you buckle and you don't continue to fucking working through it, nothing is going to transpire
100%.
or work for you. And that's the cold, hard truth that a lot of people aren't willing to face. Comfort is a great thing for many, and that's cool. But you have to grow comfortable with the uncomfortable state of living for a very long time. And it takes that gritty, dirty, relentless, focused grind in order to get you to the pinnacle of what you're trying to do. And there's no ands, if, or buts, no submissions, no handicaps, no give and takes. They focus on what it is. And if you're not the person that's going to believe in it, then it's on to the next.
100%.
Like, no negotiating at the table. This is the vision of what it is. This is what I'm forcing to transpire. And it's quite simple.
And I just want you to repeat something you said to me earlier this week, which I think is your thought of the week.
Yes.
Which is the problem solving.
Yes.
Amount of problem solving to a solution. A big one.
Yes. So the CEO of NVIDIA, which NVIDIA continues to bounce back and forth with Apple, between Apple and Microsoft on being the world's most valuable company right now. Over $3.5 trillion in market cap, which is absolutely insane. Over an 800% rise over the last calendar year. Jensen, who's the CEO of NVIDIA, he was talking about how when they essentially went through their boom, they received a large amount of orders because NVIDIA is responsible for making the chips that process AI computing power, essentially. And they're the only ones that do it as well as they do. They continue to reiterate on this, make it better and better and better. They essentially got a boatload of orders from the major corporations like Google, Microsoft, the Alphabet company, all these people, right? And what he was saying is that the first time that they went through their manufacturing process of wanting to build a manufacturing plant, it took them just under 4 years, okay? From blueprints to actually getting it up to scale, to finding the workforce, to actually making it going and actually turning over output. It took just under 4 years, about 3 years and 10 months. So they hit a bottleneck. They weren't sure how they were going to do this. He was actually saying it was one of the darkest days that he felt like they had faced in the history of their company, because you can't put these major corporations and hold on to that reign with a 3 to 4 year wait time on delivery for what you need to deliver to them on these chips. So he said he called the only guy he knew that he thought who could figure this out. Okay. And that man was Elon Musk. All right. From the time that Elon Musk came into this situation and actually got a system in place that was operating, built, developed, and pushing chips out the door, it was 19 days, okay? 19 days. And the reason why Elon Musk was able to do that, because he has the goals and aspirations and dreams of getting it done in one. That's the way that his brain is programmed to think. But from 4 years to 19 days is incomprehensible for most people.
Yeah.
Impossible for almost everyone. And that has been something that has stuck with me because it's
and I think the
crazy.
lesson for me on that, and the flip that's happened since I haven't stopped thinking about this, by the way, because we're trying to build shit faster, right?
Yeah.
So I think the mindset shift for me was they would have been comfortable with anything under 3 years and 10 months. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
They would have settled on anything under.
Yeah.
But when you flip it, you inverse it like he did, he failed 19 times.
Yeah.
Like in his head, he's like, I tried to do it in 1 day and I couldn't do it. I failed.
Yeah.
Tried to do it in 2 days, couldn't do it. I failed.
Yeah.
3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, 8 days, 9 days, all the way to 19.
Yeah.
And then he succeeded on the 19th.
Yeah.
So he flipped the model. So instead of hearing, I want to do it in 3 years and I'm happy with anything under 3, he went the other way and he went, anything over 1 is a failure.
Oof.
Right? And then he went back the other way.
Yeah.
Whatever you think of the man, that is a mindset that I applaud every day.
Yeah.
Like to think like that, to train yourself to think like that consistently is out of here. And I think you also said something, actually, when I was setting you up for something else. Mm-hmm. But you said something else today of like, when you're running a company, the only thing you have to do is solve one problem at a time, 200 times. Yeah. And you get there. Yeah. Like whatever you're trying to achieve. Yeah. If you fail 200 times on something and find solutions to that failure, you'll get there.
Absolutely.
And I think that's also just like it feels easy to do that. Like that's an easy win. Yeah. And I think that's been running through my head as well of like just Solutions are everything.
Yeah, of course, that's the only formula.
It's everything.
It's the only formula. If you think about the layout in front of you as only getting to those solutions, eventually you'll find success. It just depends on how long you're willing to stick to it.
100%.
These
and
companies
I think the same thing works
up.
for artists.
Yeah.
The same thing works for managers.
Same thing works for relationships.
People.
Yeah.
Trying to have a child. Trying to do there's just so many things. That solutions come in all different forms.
Yeah.
And they may not look when you started the journey. The solution you end on may not look like what you were chasing.
Yeah.
But it's the best thing for you because you went down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
You went down the process.
Yeah.
And what you originally wanted, you can't achieve.
Yeah. For sure.
You know? It's very exciting times.
Amen, brother. It's always a pleasure, man. You're the greatest. And I continue to look forward to carrying these conversations. Always the best insight, always the best energy. And we are pushing this one audio only today for unforeseen reasons that I basically punted the ball on the SD card. So I apologize. In the middle of our shooting, we got hit with the memory card full. No shame in admitting that.
Which has been bothering him deeply since then. So if you felt an energy shift at about the 24-minute mark, that might be why.
Yeah, and I apologize wholeheartedly. So I appreciate it, brother.
Enjoy.
Thank you, man. Talk soon.
No one saw that fist bump.
No, they did not. No, they did not.